Psychology is all around us. Psychological elements can be seen throughout the lifespan, from birth until death. Films are a wonderful tool to explain psychological theory and occurrences in our lives. Characters interact within each frame of film psychological concepts. The films we remember most and view multiple times engage us by capturing the presence of these psychological dynamics in an authentic way.
Please join me today, Dr. Katherine Marshall Woods, media psychologist and film consultant, and our guest today, Elias Alexandro, with his film Lullaby on the best psychology in film. Welcome, everyone, to Best Psychology in Film. I am your host, Dr. Katherine Marshall Woods. Today, we have a returning guest, actually, which is always very exciting, Mr. Elias Alexandro. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you, Dr. Marshall Woods. I'm so honored to be here and to really dive deep into another story. It was such a joy last time to to explore and dissect my favorite intersection, psychology and film.
Well, last time we had the pleasure of talking to you about Widow, which was your first short film. I was able to see a second short film at the Believe Psychology Film Festival, Lullaby. Can you please tell us about this fascinating film?
Well, sure, it'd be my pleasure. Lullaby is a 6-minute short experimental psychological slice of life. I wanted to drop in on a questionable, complicated character. I love. I'm fascinated with subversion and the subversive element of society and genre and what lies beneath the surface, what hides in the shadows. And I think our mind has a lot of shadows and corners and, scary things as well. And we're able to confront certain parts of our lives and our past and our futures through film and the medium of art, and also through psychology. But we can dive into that later. I'm getting off track right now. Lullaby is 6 minutes. It's about a single mother, ultimately, at the end of the day. But it's there's also deeper themes that it explores, like unconditional love, sacrifice, dreams, and nightmares. So 6 minutes, but it packs a punch.
That it does. Let's allow our audience to have a moment to be able to catch a clip of Lullaby, and we'll talk about it in a moment. We'll be right back.
When the blazing sun is gone, when nothing shines upon, and then you show your little light. Twinkle, twinkle through that night. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are.
You said a questionable character. Tell me a little bit about her.
Well, we're first introduced to her in the first couple of seconds as this chanteuse, this mysterious female singer, this enigma, who comes into the stage to roaring applause, and then we're snapped to reality. But the audience doesn't really know what is real and what is not yet. And we're now in a hotel, and she's not as proud as she once was when we first met her. She's wearing these big eyeglasses and she's got a trench coat and she's strutting down the hallway with a mission, with a purpose. She's going somewhere and there's moody, grinding music playing in the background. And so who is this woman? Where is she going? And then we find out ultimately that she is a dominatrix. She is involved in sex work of some sort, but like most work, it's a performance, right? So she's able to converge a dream with a reality in a really unique way through this experience with a client. And she loses herself a little bit. The line between fantasy and reality starts to blur. She starts to slip. And we're dropped into a different part of her life, and we realize it's all full circle in a weird, warped way.
You know, in our show, we generally, or I generally perform this research and try to find like psychodynamic or psychoanalytic theory or psychological theory globally to be able to bring to the audience regarding this film, and us be able to kind of use that as a foundation to have a conversation. And I was doing the research and came up at a blank, in part because your film has so many different elements to it that I thought would resonate with audiences. In particular, we have this single mother, so we could have gone down that road. We could have gone down the road of what is it like being a mother? We could have gone down that. What is it like for individuals and the psychology behind sex work? We could have gone down that road. What is it, the psychology of being a dominatrix? What is that road about? What is the road of, let's say, her subject and his, fetish? We could have gone down that road. What is it, we could go down the road of dreams and how to pair those dreams with the reality and have it not met exactly. There were so many different psychological elements to this. And I'm wondering how this all came about of you creating this film in this, like you said, a 6-minute film that has all of these different roads to take in a very short amount of time.
You're absolutely right. There's so many different roads, and I thought of them initially as layers, as, layers of an onion. And I wanted to play with this idea of the audience's expectations or preconceived notions about certain groups of people, maybe certain professions, right? And certain like parenthood, motherhood. Like what does that look like? It's not as cookie cutter and clear in most cases. It certainly wasn't with me. I grew up a single mother. She was not a dominatrix. I grew up with a single mom. She was not a dominatrix, but she was a hardworking teacher who had to work multiple jobs, and so that was my initial angle going into it as a filmmaker and a storyteller. And then I had this other angle. Her name is Zoe Wright, the lead actress, and I had this vision, and she's a dear friend of mine, and I knew what she was hiding up her sleeve, the talent that she possessed, and she walked through life with such humility, and I'm like, you're a star, Zoe. I need to craft something to really highlight who you are, and where I want you to go. I want her to have this larger than life star, dream of being a star. So I had this vision of her walking down a hallway with her beautiful natural hair, with this gorgeous but mysterious outfit and a suitcase. And and I asked myself those questions I asked earlier. Who is she? Where is she going? And at the time, I was reckoning with the fact that I was not the best son a few years prior in high school. We've all gone through adolescence and moody mood swings and this and that. And I grew up an only child with my mom, single mom. So my mom was my partner in life for a big chunk of my life, and I wanted to honor that, and I wanted to maybe right some wrongs and show her in my own warped, weird, creative way that I see and I saw her unconditional love, and and I wanted to encapsulate and immortalize it in a way that only I can.
That is lovely and beautiful. I'm sure she's quite proud to be able to know that she's seen One aspect, and we hit on this initially, is that the sacrifice that this character has and is engaged in for the love of their child. I'm wondering, you want to be able to show audiences what maybe single mothers go through. Why is that part important for you to depict in your films?
I've always been fascinated with the power of the defiant woman. It's she that a defiant woman has always been my muse because I was raised by one, uh, and that's where my brain first goes. That's where my mind wanders, and this idea of single motherhood and the idea of unconditional love, it's something that you really don't have a choice in. I feel you're bound by blood, but that also means you have to make certain decisions in life and sacrifice some of your own dreams or goals or initial intentions for something bigger than you, for a life that's not yours, but a life that you created. I think there's a lot of subliminal messaging when it comes to parenthood, especially motherhood, specifically single motherhood, that you can dissect in terms of psychology and psychosis and fears and nightmares. I remember I was a little kid going through my mom's closet and I found a book that said, I forget the exact title, but it was along the lines of how to not screw up your kid. It was like a handbook to how to be a mom. And I couldn't register at the time, like she needs a handbook? Like she, right? Like
Of course.
but it's a hard, very hard thing to do to raise and bring a human into this world. And I was very lucky to have a mother with her wherewithal, right? But I think about the other groups of people, other families, other aspects of culture that don't their road isn't as easy, and they have extremely subversive experiences in life to put food on the table. And that aspect intrigued me, and I think that if you choose to explore underground stories that don't really get told, or stories that go against the grain, you're able to illuminate the human experience of motherhood in a whole different way. And I think that's what I ultimately intended.
Hmm. I know we're actually at a break, but when we come back, one of the things that I'd like us to talk about is this character and judgment. And I know that may sound strange, but bear with me. We'll be right back to continue to talk to Elias Alexandro regarding his film Lullaby when we return.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
Bro, you gotta stop with that depression stuff. That's a white people thing.
Escúchame, en esta casa los hombres no lloran.
You alright?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you wanna talk about it?
Thanks for hearing me out, bro. Appreciate it.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad. Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
Welcome back, everyone, to Best Psychology in Film. I'm your host, Dr. Katherine Marshall Woods. Today, we're speaking with Elias Alexandro regarding his film Lullaby. Thanks again for coming.
So happy to be here.
Lullaby goes into a story of a single mother who is engaging in sex work and as a sacrifice and in order to be able to care for her child and to be able to nurture her family. And one of the things that, is interesting when we think about, let's say, sex work and being a dominatrix, many times individuals have a lot of judgment regarding that. As a result, it comes with a lot of silence and secrecy and shame, when
Mm.
in fact, the actual duty of her engaging in this job is something that's quite honorable, really, which is taking care of the family. And so you have this one aspect of engaging in something that individuals would consider, like you noted, kind of like the underground of life and of human conditions and people's engagements, and on the other hand, engaging in something that's extraordinarily honorable and nurturing and something that we actually praise individuals for. So
Mm.
I'm wondering if you had put that into context when you were creating this film, of having this dichotomy of having this character hold both of those elements of life.
I love that you bring up dichotomy because in front of everything is a shadow. There's always a yin, there's always a yang. And I never really thought of, well, maybe I did at first, but the idea of sex work, I mean, it's history's oldest profession. And I grew up loving subversive films, from Tarantino to David Lynch, to John Waters. So, and something that John Waters really does really well is he's able to wrap dark social statements in colorful candy packaging. And something that David Lynch does really well is he's able to show the inner workings of our psychosis, that gray area between fantasy, reality, illusion, and delusion. That element really, really struck a chord with me. So I kind of wanted to join the two and and gift, because a filmmaker makes the movie that they would love to see at the end of the day. And a filmmaker who tells a good story, that story is a personal story, and a story that only they can tell. And and people have asked me before, it's like, what qualifies me to tell this story, right? I mean, I'm not a woman, I'm not a single mother, I'm not involved in some of the aspects, I'm not, I'm very vanilla. Very vanilla, but I am fascinated by every flavor in the ice cream shop and as a storyteller. And so this was my opportunity to sort of have two flavors at once, two scoops at once from different sides of the cooler, of the freezer. And I think as an audience member, and I think maybe you can relate, or other people watching can relate, I want to be challenged. I want to see something new, right? It's 2025. There's been decades, more than a century of Hollywood and storytelling. What else? And so that's the angle I approached it. I wanted to make something subversive, something shocking, because it's like you hook them. You hook them with the hooker, ironically. And I say that term with utter joy and respect. You hook them with the hooker, and then you make them stay for the heart. You make them stay for motherhood and for unconditional love. And there is a yin and there is a yang. People take things at face value. They take sex workers for face value and for granted. They think of they can, like the Grand Theft Auto video game, they're just NPCs. But
True.
no, they're not NPCs, non-playable characters. There's a whole breadth of experience and a past, a present, and a future with these people. And I wanted to explore that. And I wanted, like you said, to have that contrast, to peel back that layer and really explore this idea of motherhood, but also sacrifice. And that comes with working a job that maybe you don't want to work, but you have to. That's a sacrifice element. And I wanted to tell it in a different way, in a way that shook a few people up, you know?
Yes, and it's interesting that you note this. That is really humans. Is that there's always the shadow, there's always the yin and the yang.
Mhm.
They're not non-playable individual. Like That's the nuance of the human condition. No one is exactly what they seem just on the outside.
Yeah.
There's so much more to uncover. And you are certainly one of the filmmakers that I know of who's really looking to be able to do that and offer that to audiences in film, which is fantastic to see. Similarly, you also have this parallel between the fact that she is a single mother and really has a tangible baby, a tangible baby at home. And then
Hmm.
you offer her to have in her job also an infant in a specific sort of way. And I'd like you to talk to us a little bit about her client and your drive and motivation behind this dynamic that plays out in the film.
Yes. I wanted to find that intersection. Where can I bridge these two worlds of hers, these two lives of hers, these two masks that she wears? Where is the intersection, and where does it transcend? And where it transcends is on stage. That's where both worlds sort of are at a standstill. That's where they're both paused. And that client character is the perfect bridge, I thought, between those two worlds. Because if you notice in the towards the end, when she's snapped out of this vision of this performance, it's through that character. That character is everything beautiful about her life and everything ugly wrapped into one. And through the list of commands that he has for her, she's able to not only sort of use this experience as a real mother, but you don't know that yet as the audience, but she's also able to live through this other experience that she's always wanted to live through. And so he gives her that opportunity in a really weird, warped way. It's an opportunity to self examine herself, but also maybe play a Ghost of Christmas Future a little bit, uh, and revisit this side of her that maybe she locked away, maybe she put aside or she forgot about. And so that character is very important because I would not call him an antagonist. He's an anti-hero for sure,
Mhm.
but at the end of the day, he was able to provide this opportunity. So it's complicated. It's a very complicated, and I'm intrigued always by complicated characters. The more complicated, the better, because there's more depth there, there's more nuance there, and there's more color, and that's what I'm fascinated by as a filmmaker and storyteller. Complicated characters.
Yes, I would agree with you regarding his role in this film. It's actually a beautiful, annoying one to me,
Yes, yes.
right? And the idea that you noted, she's able to capture a little bit about the things that she may have put away, the things that she may have forgotten about. And we talk so often about that is a part of motherhood. And for many people, that's the expectation of motherhood is that
Hmm.
when you have children or have a child, that there's a part of you that gets put away in order for you to attend, to focus, to give all of your efforts and energies into nurturing and developing this little human
Yeah.
to help them become hopefully productive citizens of society and so forth
Hopefully.
and happy and healthy, right?
Right.
But you are seeming to challenge that as well, is that even when you have a child, or in her case, maybe children, um,
Hmm.
is that parts of yourself you're able to still connect to, even like you mentioned in the beautiful way, but also in an ugly way as well, is
Hmm.
that parts of yourself will come back to you and in
Hmm.
ways that you may not be anticipating at all. And
Right.
so you're sacrificing as a mother, but your authentic self is still there too and needs your attention equally
Right.
as well.
Right. Right. It's a collision of self. So it's ultimately an intimate psychological slice of life where you're able to meet three different versions of a person in 6 minutes. So I'm proud that I was able to do that. And in a way, I'm still trying to top that as a storyteller, right? Because that was quite the feat. And this was initially done in school, in film school. I started it in film school, and the challenge, and I think artists work best under pressure, and limitations, because through limitations you can really utilize your resources and be resourceful. But the challenge was to not have any dialogue. And if you notice, the film doesn't have any dialogue just besides the song that she sings. So that was my loophole, right? But I wanted to pack a punch with very few words spoken. Um, so yeah.
Elias, you were very, very successful. And as you know, you've mentioned the fact that this is a 6-minute film, and that always, the moment you say it, it's just so shocking to me, considering what an audience is able to garner from this film. And again, in that amount of time, this is certainly a film that I will be holding on to. It will be in my memory for a very long time, if not my lifetime. It is very impactful. And to think that that does happen in 6 minutes of time just really is a wonderful illustration of the power that filmmakers have to change
Ex
our lives and to influence our lives, to think differently and to be able to get different perspectives on individuals' lived experiences. So thank you
Yes.
for this.
Yes. Exactly. I mean, it's through your work that I come to think this idea of cultural product, and that films can be seen as a culmination of a tapestry of different artists and lived experiences that can help illuminate a viewer, an audience member, to not only think about themselves and have this sort of inverse intimate reaction, but to change social behavior or influence cultural evolution. And I really am thankful for the intersection that you have helped study and helped cultivate, because I think that's when filmmakers sort of operate best, with the human condition in mind, with psychology and the brain involved.
Oh, Elias, I cannot wait for you to return again with a new film and to see what else you will be creating in order to influence our culture and our thoughts and perceptions about people, to think about them globally, empathetically, and with a more nuanced eye. Thank you for this work that you're doing.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share it.
Oh, we'll see you next time on Best Psychology and Film. It's just such a pleasure again. We'll see you next time. If you'd like to follow me, find me on Instagram at Psych Minded Media. Have a good one. Take care.